Life has lessons. A wise MC named Slug from Atmosphere said, "I've got a lot to teach, but even more to learn. I want to know the ledge of information, knowledge, wisdom, and jump over it in my quest for more knowledge pieces of life's puzzle. Knowledge of health, the mind, the body, the self. Knowledge of history, the planet, the universe, and beyond. There is a lot to the grand design, and I want to peek behind the curtain. Join me on the path of wisdom to
evolve yourself."
Yo, I got a question for you. You ever go to the bathroom and you pull down your gym pants or your jammies and then you realize that you farted a few minutes ago and it was trapped in your pants? Oh, man.
come around to my way of thinking.
And now, Alex talks about serious issues because Alex has serious issues.
I remember when Facebook used to be more entertaining and engaging about 5-6 years ago or so. And then it just kind of got a lot more negative, especially now. It's about 90% negativity, if you ask me, if I go on there, at least my feed. And I've been guilty of it myself. It started in the BC era, ever since Trumpocalypse, but then the Rona started to infect Instagram as well. And back in May, I started a mostly media blackout because I just couldn't handle all the negativity and all these people are getting sick and dying and they're only focusing on so many stories. And it seemed like the narrative is being controlled. I'm not going to rant about that right now because I started to focus on what I can change. And the fear stream media distracts from that, which has spread like wildfire on social media, especially Facebook. Eleanor Roosevelt is quoted as saying, "Great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Small minds discuss people. You can choose to create your own reality or you can have it created for you." And that's what I'm doing because I'm at a transition in my life and I'm climbing up my personal mountain. This is the chapter where I create the life that I want. If you are familiar with the law of one, an interpretation of the raw material, humanity is going through an awakening where they are shifting from a third level density consciousness to a fourth level density consciousness. If you are interested in learning more about the law of one material, Aaron Abke, that's AARONABKE, has an excellent series on YouTube that I encourage you to check out. Episode 9 discusses specifically the shift from third level to fourth level density consciousness. I dropped a link in the description on the YouTube version of this show, and you can also check it out in the show notes at goevolveyourhealth.com. I had my own awakening as a series of epiphanies through psychedelic mushrooms back in 2008. It was a beautiful awakening too. I was able to put together pieces to many puzzles that I've been trying to figure out throughout my whole life. I could see the world for what it was, and I have been on a quest for more knowledge, wisdom, and enlightenment ever since. My story since then has taken many twists and turns. My life has been a roller coaster ride through an obstacle course, and probably for a reason. It seems like the rug keeps getting pulled out from under my feet, and it's probably because I keep going on the wrong path.
You're going the wrong way!
And maybe I'm being pointed to the right path. And now that I'm witnessing others going through the same shift from the third level density consciousness to a fourth level density consciousness, it's just kind of disturbing. The awakening of what I am witnessing of the other people, it seems like they're being woken up by a loud alarm clock while having a bucket of water or a bucket of piss being poured on them during their deepest sleep. Call it a rude awakening, and it's uncomfortable to watch. So here is my social dilemma. It started with MySpace, which was a lot of fun, and some of us were hanging out on AOL and Yahoo and other services beforehand. So maybe 15 years of social media is enough for now, especially since I am focusing on my health coach business and doing content creation, especially video, experimenting with podcasting, which this is. I have much more fun producing in this manner. Content. Show up more often. In the spirit of Gary Vaynerchuk, I am going to show up more more often. I don't see where social media fits in this picture right now. It is a pay-to-play system. The algorithm is always changing. The attention span is getting shorter, especially thanks to TikTok.
Is it me? Or are they trying to really shorten our attention spans? Wait, what was that?
The censorship is getting worse, and the divide and distract game is just disturbing. And a lot of us are getting shadow banned and having our feeds tailored a bit differently. And I feel like I'm lost in the mix at this point. I don't want to be handcuffed. So remember, if the service is free, you are the product.
If you're not paying for the product, you are the product.
Going on social media the last few months, especially Facebook, has just been depressing, triggering anxiety. I would go on there for groups, for health coach groups, for exercise groups. And when I first was going on the health coach groups, it seemed like it was other people trying to coach health coaches coaching coaches. And it seemed like I just kept getting hit up in Messenger, and it was all these people trying to get money from me. And I was like, you know what? I'm walking away. I will still continue to post on social media, mostly through Instagram. I don't want to focus my time and energy where it doesn't need to be. I don't want to put my hand in too many baskets. I would rather focus on a couple of platforms where I can get some growth going. It takes an extra hour or so to transfer everything over to Instagram and TikTok because you got to put it on your phone. You can't do a lot of it from your desktop, which is where I prefer to do everything. Plus, I've become quite detached from my phone, to tell you the truth. And I don't want to deal with the extra time, energy, stress, anxiety, etc., especially being somebody who has healed themselves from many health issues, especially autoimmune issues. I know how important it is to keep my mental game strong because that affects my overall health. And health is your wealth. And I am really going to have to focus on not just continuing to fix myself, but to teach others to do the same. And I would be a hypocrite if I were to talk the talk, but not walk the talk and walk the walk. A lot of taking care of your health involves good routines and habits, something that I will go over later, and I have to continue to build on my good routines and habits so that I can teach others to do the same. And getting rid of bad habits and replacing them with good habits is a really good thing to do, especially when it comes to what you consume. And I find myself trying to consume more for education, for growth, not so much for entertainment or just to kill time by thumbing myself up and down the feed. I honestly get bored with it, or it triggers anxiety and depression, like I said earlier. So from here on forward, I am going to scale back on consuming certain content and work on creating more content. And the content that I do plan on consuming and have been consuming over the last few weeks is all about adding to more of my own content. The growth game is getting strong right now, and I'm not stopping because it's having a snowball effect on momentum. What do you see more of in your social media feed? How does your social media feed make you feel? If the answer is not good, then how do you think that is affecting your health and mindset?
I'm not milk, but I can do your body good.
Yo, peep this. You know how we keep birds in cages and lizards and fish in aquariums and shit? Yo, what if the aliens are doing that to us?
One of my favorite forms of taking in content is audio, especially podcasts. I've been listening to podcasts probably since their inception back in the I want to say early, mid-2000s or so. I started off by listening to Sean Croxton's Underground Wellness, Jimmy Moore's Living La Vida Low Carb, and then I stumbled across Robb Wolf, Abel James, Bulletproof Radio with Dave Asprey, and the list has just grown over the years. And I found more ways to listen to podcasts, whether I would be heading to work and back, whenever I'm in the kitchen. I've started listening to podcasts in the shower, when I walk the dog, when I ride my bike around. Tons of ways to just take in the knowledge that can be brought to you by podcasts. You can get an entire book's worth of education in some of these shows. On a recent podcast, Ben Greenfield said that podcasts are education for your ears. And one of my favorite shows that I heard recently was Living 4D with Paul Chek, episode 103 with Kadrick Olson. They got really deep on this show.
Podcast bites.
Because if you get caught in a belief system that stops you from looking into other belief systems, then you don't realize that at the root of almost all the major belief systems in the world, we'll call them religions, for example, is the same message, But because each of the different cultures and religions has a slightly different nuance to it, it expands your own capacity to perceive things that you once thought of only in a specific way, but you go, wow, the Muslims see it this way. The Hindus see it this way. The Chinese see it this way. The Tibetans see it this way. And they're all saying the same thing, but each one of them adds a little color and a little more depth and a little more clarity to the others. And all of a sudden, what was maybe too rigid of a conception becomes much more liquid, much more porous, much more dynamic, but much more whole.
Exactly. And that's why mystics get along together so well, no matter what tradition they are part of, because mystics see below the structures of religion to find the substrate of existence that all of these religions are built on. And they might use different words, but they can agree on the same exact concepts because they're looking at the mystical layer that all of the dogma is built on top of.
Mind blown. Paul Chek and Kader Golson had a very long conversation for the rest of that show. I highly recommend checking it out if you want to learn something new, get enlightened, or it might just go against your belief system. But you know what? We're all entitled to our own opinion, and I think these two gentlemen did such a great job of explaining so much on this show.
And now, what the fuck technology?
The year 2020. The place, my kitchen. I have 3 clocks. One is on a radio under the counter, one is on my stove, and one is on my microwave. Many times I have tried to get these clocks to sync up to the same time, and every time it has failed. One goes too fast, one goes too slow, and one is in the middle. This is not Goldilocks, and these are not the 3 bears. I have a feeling that Google will be able to read our minds before clocks can sync up. What the fuck, technology? I am a health nut. I am into health and I am a nut.
These nuts!
It may seem like a joke, but some people have taken Mr. Nuts seriously.
I don't know if you noticed that. Wait, we're still getting to know each other, aren't we? Okay, fine. I'll put my pants on. It's story and lesson time anyways.
Evolve your health.
The frustration of Inflammation Nation. All I really want is alleviation. Once in a while, I will slip up and here comes flirtation with procrastination. That's because I am looking for cessation of the painful sensation. But somehow I still find the motivation and dedication because I refuse to give in to a life of damnation. I wrote that during the height of my autoimmune struggles about 3 years ago, back in 2017. All right, short story time. This is a Cliff Notes version of my autoimmune journey. I went from probably 165 pounds at the age of 17 to about 240 pounds by my late 20s. I ate a lot of crappy food, mostly because I had access to a car and Taco Bell and nachos and cheese and all the other processed crap back then. And Mountain Dew was one of my staples. I really liked the Fountain Dews from 7-Eleven, but I'm not going to riff on that right now. I went to a pre-employment exam when I was 27, and the doctor was very concerned about my weight, my cholesterol, and my blood pressure. He was telling me that I had the body of a 40-year-old. And this was a wake-up call to me. I started to shift my eating habits soon after that. I started by taking diet advice from fitness and bodybuilding magazines. Some call it the bro science. You've probably seen it. I don't know what they print nowadays because I stopped reading those. Men's Fitness, Muscle and Fitness, Flex, etc., etc. For those of you not familiar with the bro science diet, it consists of mostly what you would think of as healthy foods like chicken, rice, grains, dairy, such as yogurt, low-fat milk, vegetables, oatmeal, and egg whites. This also includes a weekly cheat meal, which for me would be like a whole pizza, Burger King, crappy food. I didn't know that back then. This helped me lose about 50 to 60 pounds initially, and I plateaued several times. I yo-yo dieted on and off, but I did not realize that I had underlying food sensitivities. I didn't even know they existed back then. Between this and consuming more alcohol than I should have, and antibiotics, and having a bad reaction to a flu vaccine, I ended up with psoriasis a few weeks after my first flu vaccine. I didn't realize there's a genetic SNP that can trigger autoimmunity thanks to certain flu vaccines, and I have that SNP. I'm not going to say correlation is causation, and I'm not going to go down the vaccine rabbit hole. My body tends not to like vaccines like that, so I just stay away. And antibiotics are kind of like napalm to your gut. Not only do they wipe out the bad infections, the bad bacteria, they wipe out the good bacteria, which you need. Your neurotransmitters are made in your gut. Your dopamine, which is your reward center. Your serotonin, which calms you down. But eventually I was able to eliminate my psoriasis by eliminating dairy thanks to a tip from a coworker. I felt fine for the most part until my late 30s. I would get my weight down to 170 and fluctuate between that and 190, but there was some underlying damage and it came on like a firestorm. I got recruited to go to an airbag manufacturer for a recall, and I was working with chemicals that caused an autoimmune reaction in my skin. Extreme burning that felt like sunburn, and it was from the waist down. And I started breaking out in cysts, and I would have to put all this different cream on my skin just to cool down. It was torture. How do I know it was the chemicals? The room I was working in would cause it to get worse. I would leave the room, run to the bathroom, have to take all kinds of lotion, rub it all over my body, down below, all over my dick and balls and my ass. It was not fun. A few weeks later, I developed arthritis. Soon after that, I got chronic fatigue, brain fog, and blurry vision. Rewind back to a few years earlier, I ended up with tinnitus due to a reaction from Vicodin and ibuprofen after I had knee surgery. So the more inflamed my body was, the worse the tinnitus got. If you don't know what tinnitus is, it's a perceived ringing in the ears. When you go to lay down at night, no matter how bad you try, you cannot sleep because it feels like your head is a bell that's being rung. It physically feels like it's vibrating, at least for me. I would be lucky to get 30 minutes of sleep every 4 days when it first kicked in. Add to the tinnitus into all this autoimmune mix, and I was exhausted. I passed out at work, and eventually I could not get off the couch for 4 days, and I was let go from my job. During this time, I was listening to more health and wellness podcasts. I stumbled across a handful of autoimmune specialty podcasts, such as Phoenix Helix, Autoimmune Wellness, the Paleo View, the Myer's Way, and the subject of autoimmunity was popping up on Robb Wolf's show, The Paleo Solution, and a handful of other health shows I had been listening to at that time. This led me down the rabbit hole. If you're not familiar with autoimmunity, in a nutshell, autoimmunity is where the body's immune system attacks the body. I dug into some autoimmune disease books after losing my job, and I started with The Autoimmune Solution by Dr. Amy Myers, and then The Autoimmune Fix by Dr. Tom O'Brien, which led me to Dr. O'Brien's documentary series, Betrayal, the autoimmune disease solution they're not telling you. I kept hearing about the Autoimmune Protocol diet, also known as the AIP diet. Some call it the Autoimmune Paleo diet, but the protocol requires at least 30 days of elimination of dairy, gluten, grains, pseudo-grains like quinoa, buckwheat, and amaranth, legumes, nuts, seeds, nightshades, eggs, modern vegetable oils, alcohol, added sugar or sweeteners, food additives, and non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs such as ibuprofen, which I was avoiding because of the tinnitus at that point. And after 30 days of this elimination phase, you add food back in one at a time to try to find out what your trigger foods are that are causing inflammation. I call these foods kryptonite. You also want to include anti-inflammatory foods such as turmeric and bone broth, not only to get the inflammation down, but to heal leaky gut. Leaky gut is known as intestinal permeability. It is a condition in which the lining of the small intestine becomes damaged. It causes undigested food particles, toxic waste products, and bacteria to leak through the intestines and flood throughout the bloodstream. The foreign substances entering the bloodstream can cause autoimmune responses in the body, including inflammatory and allergic reactions such as migraines, irritable bowel syndrome, eczema, chronic fatigue, food allergies, several forms of arthritis, and more. Does any of this sound familiar to you? Chances are it could be what you're eating. I started making the recipes that I had been compiling from books and online. I basically had to relearn how to cook, prepare foods, and eat. It took me a while to put it together. I want to say it took me about 3 or 4 months to figure out how to prepare foods this way and basically completely relearn how to eat. But ultimately it worked. It got me to about 80 to 90%. To get to 90 to 100%, I had to address some nutritional deficiencies, some genetic damage. I was also dealing with some thyroid and adrenal issues. Getting over some of these other humps, I had to implement some non-dietary strategies, such as sauna, meditation, breath work, and cold showers, and some other things that I'm about to go into here. My kryptonite turned out to be dairy, nightshades, and most grains, the ones containing gluten, even some of the gluten-free grains, such as gluten-free oatmeal, those would cause inflammation. And I can get away with having some gluten-free grains. Buckwheat doesn't seem to disagree with me, so I'll make buckwheat pancakes, but I try to keep it few and far between. Some nightshades don't bother me few and far between. If I have peppers and eggplants and certain potatoes, I have to make sure I pressure cook them first. The powders and paste don't seem to bother me, but I don't play with that kryptonite too much. I have to be very careful. I just make sure to take some good digestive enzymes, which I take with every meal, but I make sure to take some extra ones and some powerful ones if I want to eat out or if I'm afraid of having a reaction to food. But I just try to keep those occasions few and far between because it's better to be safe than sorry. My journey to health has been a long road with many side roads, breakdowns, flat tires around my waist, falling off track, and starting back at the starting line again and again. Change is a process that does not happen overnight. Change happens one habit at a time. First, you need to remove a bad habit and replace it with a good habit until you run out of bad habits and all you have left is good habits, and you build from there. Habits go beyond food and exercise. They also include your thoughts, mindset, how you handle stress, and other aspects of your health and lifestyle. The road to health takes consistency. To achieve consistency, you build habits and routines, or you will just keep falling off track. Like me, I fell off, I've slipped up, I've stagnated, I've made mistakes, I've gotten lost. I've always found a way to get back on track and modify my game plan. Once you fall, you can choose to stay on the ground or you can choose to get up and keep moving forward. This is where it all comes back to consistency. As you keep implementing and practicing your habits, you get better and you can go on autopilot with some of them as you improve onto others. You might not be consistent 100%, but some of us do need to be more so consistent than others, like me, due to having several autoimmune conditions. Over time, I built habits and routines like stairs, stacked my habits and routines like blocks of a pyramid. It started with a solid foundation. A good solid foundation of health is built on these principles: sleep, wise food choices, exercise, stress management, mindset, eliminating toxins, including toxic thoughts, toxic people, and having a game plan, because those who fail to plan to fail. Let's start with sleep. Have you ever heard the phrase, "I'll sleep when I'm dead"? Chances are the people that utter those words don't live the longest or healthiest lives. It will likely catch up to them, unless they're that small fraction of the population who genetically can get by on less sleep, but that is usually pretty rare. Sleep deprivation is one of my kryptonites. If I don't get at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep most nights, my inflammation kicks in, my brain gets scrambled like an egg, my appetite gets wonky, I could make poor decisions, and my day could go by in a haze. I can pull off less sleep once in a while, but I have to end up paying the piper down the road if I travel that road too often. Anybody else feel the same? It is a good practice to try to keep the same sleep cycle, going to bed and getting up around roughly the same time every night. Right now, I currently go to bed sometime between 10:30 and midnight, and I wake up sometime between 7 and 8 a.m. A few months ago, it was much earlier. Like I would get up around 4 or 5, go to bed around 8 or 9, but my schedule has shifted since then, and I tend to sleep more with the light cycles. You need to try to avoid devices like your computer, tablet, and cell phone too close to bed, because blue light in the evening tricks your brain into thinking it's daytime, which inhibits the production of the sleep hormone melatonin and reduces both the quantity and quality of your sleep. You can use tactics such as software that can dim the lights, like flux. That can dim some of your lights in your computer. They have ones for your phone. Some of them are built into your phone. Before bed, generally, I will wear blue light blocking glasses, which make me look like a dork, but at least I look like a sexy dork, and watch TV, maybe play a video game or read a book, which doesn't seem to affect my sleep, which is great because I was having sleep issues the past few years and I've had to try many tactics to alleviate them. I try to keep the house colder at night. I also finish my shower with about a minute and a half of cold water, which not only cools my body temperature, it boosts my immune system and can help convert bad white adipose fat tissue into good brown adipose fat tissue, which produces energy and helps to burn fat, and it also builds my resiliency. I also have a nighttime cocktail. No, not Scotch and Ambien.
A spokesperson from Ambien said that it does have some noticeable side effects, but neither racism nor death by dream demon are on that list.
I have a nighttime knockout shake of golden milk, bone broth, and a plethora of powders. Say that 3 times fast. That's about as fast as I can go. Here are the powders. The adaptogens. I'll start with those. Adaptogens is spelled ADAPTOGENS. Adaptogens. These are reishi, Shisandra, and ashwagandha. Now say that 3 times fast. No. In short, adaptogens help your body deal with stress by helping with your adrenals. They can help pick you up or help take you down. They're excellent for leveling you, but not all adaptogens work the same for everybody. Somewhat of a common thread when it comes to nutrition and supplements. One thing that works for one person might not necessarily work for the other because we are all built different, so we must all feel different. They call it bio-individuality. There is so much more to adaptogens. I highly recommend looking into the work of David Winston. He has an excellent book, Adaptogens, Herbs for Strength, Stamina, and Stress Relief. You can find that on Amazon. He unfortunately has only done a handful of readily available podcasts and interviews. Some can be found on YouTube and iTunes. His most notable was on Herb Mentor Radio. I would also highly recommend checking out the article online by Dr. Will Cole, The Power and Science of Adaptogens from a Functional Medicine Expert. Also check out Dr. Will Cole's excellent podcast with health podcast OG Jimmy Moore, formerly known as Keto Talk, now known as Real Talk, episode 143, a comprehensive primer on the use of adaptogens in your health. He goes over those adaptogens very well. Sidetrack over, back to my knockout shake. I also include L-theanine, which helps take the edge off. You will see that in some energy, some pre-workout, and some nootropic mixes just for that very reason, because it takes the edge off. I also include the powders, beef gelatin, and glycine, which can help with staying asleep. A problem I've had on and off, where I would wake up after 5 or 6 hours of sleep and have a lot of trouble falling back asleep. It could sometimes take me up to an hour, which is kind of a pain in the butt when you're laying in bed a lot longer to get more sleep, if you have that opportunity, of course. I also take bitter melon extract, which helps with blood sugar regulation, which is very important while we sleep. Sometimes you might wake up in the middle of your sleep and have problems falling back asleep. That's because your blood sugar is rocking and rolling like a roller coaster. It's going up, it's going down. I also add my joint formula, comprised of collagen, vitamin C, MSM, and glucosamine. I also add in the amino acid taurine and the antioxidant NAC. I include taurine in there because it's known to have a calming effect. And the antioxidant NAC helps you produce glutathione, which is very important for detoxing. Some people have problems detoxing if they have certain genetic SNPs, and I'm one of those people. So I try to include some precursor to glutathione, or if I can get liposomal glutathione, which is an even better form, but it's more expensive. But I have to warn you, my shake, it's not the best tasting. I'm sure you can find a way to spruce it up, but this is not a pleasure drink for me. It is merely something to push the needle in the right direction for better sleep. I also have some pills that I pop. No, not Ambien. I take magnesium L-threonate, which is allegedly the only magnesium that crosses the blood-brain barrier, and it plays a crucial role in so many of the body's processes. You will see a lot of sleep formulas with magnesium because it plays a role in over 300 of the body's processes, and a lot of us are deficient in magnesium, so a lot of us probably should be taking magnesium in some form. I also take True Calm by Now Supplements, which has been a go-to for me lately in winding down. I also take ZMA, which is zinc, magnesium, and vitamin B6. I first learned about ZMA from, I believe it was either Muscle and Fitness or Flex many years ago, because that is what Barry Bonds said that he took that pushed the needle for him to hit all those home runs. So it wasn't steroids, ladies and gentlemen, it was the ZMA. But I did notice that it helped me stay asleep deeper and also have some pretty wild dreams. Lately, I've been including an adrenal complex to help with my energy crashes and a nighttime fat burner, both of which I have noticed help me not only with sleep, but stress the next day. Some of the things that are included in both of those products, they just seem to work for me. And how do I know that something's working for me? Because I ran out of both and my sleep started to slip and I started to get more anxiety the next day. A great marker to tell if a supplement works: if you quit taking it and what you were taking it for becomes a problem, well, that supplement just might have been working. That supplement may have been a problem solver, well, at least part of it, because you can't out-supplement a bad diet. More on that coming up. I also use a full spectrum hemp oil. I really dig the brand Ned. They also have a full spectrum sleep hemp oil that I got a free sample of recently, and that one knocks me out pretty quick. My latest addition is to do a scoop of raw honey and almond butter after dinner. I noticed that despite everything I was doing, I was still sometimes waking up an hour or two before I wanted to, and I suspect that it was my blood sugar dropping, and there are people that recommend raw honey and almond butter, so I figured I would try both. And it might have been a likely side effect of cutting calories, intermittent fasting, and trying to cut the fat the past couple of months, but this tactic did the trick. This is what has worked for me. It took a few years of trial and error, but what counts most is consistency. Cooling down, avoiding blue light at night, avoiding anything stressful, and calming myself. I almost always finish my night with meditating. Usually with a specific YouTube video. It's called All 7 Chakras Healing Chants, Chakra Seed Mantras Meditation Music by Meditation Mind. As of October 2020, it has over 8.5 million views. So I must not be the only one this video resonates with. This video has been meditating me off to La La Land for a few years. Maybe it can help you too, or maybe there's something else that resonates with you. I will put the video in the description over at YouTube, as well as on the show notes over at goevolveyourhealth.com. Having a good wind down routine really helps. You want to go to sleep like parking a car, not crashing the car. For a deeper dive into sleep, I highly recommend checking out Sean Stevenson's book, Sleep Smarter, as well as his podcast, The Model Health Show. Head over to modelhealthshow.com, click on podcast, then click on sleep, and he has over a dozen shows on this topic. Sean is the man when it comes to covering sleep. If you want to geek out on sleep science, check out Dr. Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep, as well as his podcast interviews with Joe Rogan, Dave Asprey on Bulletproof Radio, and the 3-part series he did with Dr. Peter Attia. They take a real deep dive. You will learn a lot from those shows. A little something else about Dr. Walker. He is not a Texas Ranger, but he does look like a young Chuck Norris in his Way of the Dragon, also known as Return of the Dragon, Bruce Lee days. Remember the Coliseum fight between him and Bruce Lee? That was pretty epic, right? You can't out-supplement a bad diet. If you feel like shit, have you ever considered that you are what you eat?
You are what you eat and you're a piece of trash.
Starting off eating better is pretty simple, actually. You replace the bad food with good food. You can start small by eliminating sugar, fried foods, toxic vegetable oils, and alcohol. Also stay away from processed foods, fast foods. Wait. Do I need to be telling you all of this? Put down those chips and pizza. What about them French fried potatoes? No, Carl. Try air fried or oven baked sweet potatoes and avocado oil instead. I like the way you talk. If you still don't feel up to par, look for the top problematic foods. For some of us, that could be dairy, gluten, eggs, and nuts. Some people need to avoid nightshades such as peppers, some potatoes, eggplants, etc. I have to avoid many nightshades myself because it can trigger my arthritis. Problems like these are called food sensitivities. They are usually not an allergic reaction, but rather rather an autoimmune reaction, likely due to leaky gut, where undigested food particles get released from your gut into your bloodstream and distributed throughout your body. Your body treats these as foreign invaders and starts to attack parts of your body, such as your tissues, joints, and even your brain. Have you ever had brain fog? Have you ever had brain fog? Chances are it could be caused by what you're eating unless you're not sleeping good. It could be that or your environment. There are several things that can lead to brain fog. Toxins have been found in beauty products, household cleaners, carpets, furniture, mattresses, house dust, and even in food, water, and the air we breathe. But that is a show all on its own. Your best bet for eating healthy is to make the food yourself. That way you know what is in your food. There are many options for recipes for free online, as well as books and paid for nutrition programs. Between doing dishes and food prep, I spend about a dozen hours a week or so in the kitchen, which used to seem like a daunting task. But I have spread out my routine prepping meals for the week in advance throughout the week. It really helps that I have a radio in the kitchen and I can dig into a podcast to keep my mind occupied. The time flies thanks to this strategy, and meal prep has pretty much become a set it and forget it habit for me at this point. I really have to watch what I eat thanks to having autoimmune disorders that can be triggered by bad food choices. So this keeps me healthy, vibrant, and eliminates decision fatigue when it comes to food, because I will always have food waiting for me in the fridge. The more you have plans set for the future, the easier it is to live in the now. Because you ever see those people, or do you do this yourself? They open the fridge, they don't know what to eat, they close the fridge, they walk away. They might pick up a bag of chips or whatever junk food they have laying around, or they'll order out. If you have food waiting for you at all times, you're not going to have decision fatigue. It's set it and forget it. If you don't have the time or somebody to prepare it for you, there are healthy options for food boxes, such as HelloFresh, Dinnerly, Purple Carrot, Blue Apron, Sunbasket, and Hungry Root are a few to name. Food boxes are the ingredients you need to make the meals with the instructions, which can cut down on food prep time because you have less slicing, dicing, and portioning. An easier option is meal kits, such as Paleo on the Go and Fresh and Lean, which is what my partner in love Rihanna gets, and is one of the tastier and cheaper options. If you dig other food boxes and meal kits, drop them in the comments section over on YouTube or in the show notes over at goevolveyourhealth.com. There are safe possibilities for eating out, but your wallet is less likely to lose weight than you are if you're looking to lose weight. There is no one-size-fits-all diet. You need to find what works for you, what makes you feel and perform better. Some do fine eating paleo, some do fine with keto, some need to be more restrictive with elimination diets, such as AIP, which is the Autoimmune Paleo diet, or the Autoimmune Protocol, and Whole30, among some of the others. I could list off diets this whole show. The common thread between many of these diets is what you are not eating, which leaves you with mostly healthy food choices: fruits, vegetables, meats, healthy fats, eggs, legumes, nuts, and seeds. Some do okay with nightshades, grains, and dairy, but did you notice what I didn't mention? Processed foods, the garbage. Yes, I said garbage. Garbage and carbs, the nasty carbs. The inside aisles of the grocery stores. Do you notice where the healthier foods tend to be? In the outside perimeter of the grocery stores. A wise man named Jack LaLanne, who was in great shape, had a famous saying: "If man made it, don't eat it."
You go down to your favorite supermarket or chain store today and you just watch the people as they buy their groceries and take a peek into the shopping cart, then watch the person that's pushing that cart. And you can see the healthy, happy, handsome people are the ones that have the natural foods in that shopping cart. And the people on the other hand, the ones that are completely out of condition, they're miserable and unhealthy. You watch their shopping cart and see how many processed, man-made foods and high-calorie foods they have in that shopping bag.
On to exercise. You need to get off your ass and exercise more. Exercise can cover so much of a solid foundation, from helping you with sleep and stress to increasing energy. And who doesn't want to be in decent shape? Oh, you? Then why are you here? What is the best form of exercise? Whatever exercise you can do and are willing to do. Something is better than nothing. You don't necessarily have to lift weights or join a gym to exercise. Taking a few walks a week is a good place if you're just getting started started. There are many free at-home workouts on YouTube, whether you want to do yoga, light weights, kettlebells, resistance bands, Tai Chi, or Qigong like me. My workout routine is a big staple in my life. I start my day with Qigong, walk my dog twice a day, and lift weights in my basement gym 4 to 6 days a week. This no longer feels like a task to me. In fact, I look forward to it. I really like hulking out in the gym. Exercise is a great way to deal with stress because stress can build and you can easily fall back into bad patterns and bad habits. There are some of us that need more than just exercise for stress though, like meditation, mindfulness, and a good breathing practice. I like to combine all of them into one with Qigong, which is a form of meditation in motion. Add in some good breathing and get in your exercise and you have an excellent stress reducing and energy producing combo. I still have not perfected my breathing with Qigong, but that is why it is called a practice. This is the perfect segue into dealing with
stress.
You might not know you have stress. You know you have stress. If you're sleeping good, eating good, and getting in some exercise, your stress cup should hopefully not be too full at this point. While it might not be possible to completely eliminate stress from your life, there are tactics to reduce stress. Stress can come in many forms, such as depression, which some say depression is living in the past. You might live out traumatic events from your life in the past and repeat those events in your head over and over again, thus making you depressed. There is also anxiety, which some say is thinking too much about the future. Have you ever heard the acronym FEAR? False evidence appearing real? Are you worrying about something that hasn't happened yet? I sure have. One of my favorite and latest ways to manage stress is through the breath, with a practice known as breath work.
You want to live a stressless life? Just breathe. As we say in our t-shirts,
I'm so
breathe,
high right
motherfucker. Sorry, it's French.
I'm practicing breath work for about a year, and I've noticed that my stress cup does not fill up as often. There are several forms of breath work. Some can calm you, some can energize and recharge you, and some can take you to an altered states of consciousness.
Far out, man.
There are deep breathing techniques, rhythmic breathing techniques, and more. Here are a handful of my favorites. Let's start with one of the simplest of the techniques, box breathing. You breathe in for 4, hold for 4, then breathe out for 4. Hold for 4, and repeat for up to 5 minutes. Mark Devine is a former Navy SEAL commander and founder of SEAL Fit. He says, I recommend to start with a minimum of 5 minutes just after waking up or after coming home from work before walking in the door. It can be added to your meditation practice. Do the box breathing first, and it will settle you into a deeper mental state for meditation afterward. He also believes that box breathing can be used to prepare for a stressful event, such as a speech, or to calm you down during or after a stressful event. Another simple breathing technique for beginners, pull for a rich inhale through your nose, followed with a relaxed exhale and no pause. You want to do 6 of these in a row, so it goes like this. I feel pretty elated after that. Oof, I need to take a break. Oh my God.
And didn't inhale and never tried it again.
Next up is the relaxing breath, also known as the 4-7-8 breath, made popular by Dr. Andrew Weil. You exhale completely through your mouth, making a whooshing noise. Close your mouth and inhale quietly through your nose to a mental count of 4. Hold your breath for a count of 7. Then exhale completely through your mouth, making a whooshing sound to the count of 8. This is one breath. Now inhale again and repeat the cycle 3 more times for a total of 4 breaths. One of my favorites that I've learned lately is called the Satali breath. It's also known as the cooling breath. It brings you into a centered, focused state of calmness. Close your eyes, curl your tongue, and inhale through your open mouth. Then close your mouth and exhale through your nose. Repeat this 6 times and you should feel calm and in the moment. So it goes like this. I did that 3 times. You want to do that 6 times. These are just a handful of breathwork techniques that are fairly easy to use. There are many more out there, and you can just do a simple search on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, or whatever your favorite podcast platform is, and find a ton of good shows on this topic. One of my favorite podcasts lately on breathwork was Just in Health number 275 with Josh Trent. Josh also has his own podcast, Wellness Force Radio, where he has covered breathwork several times. If you want to read some books on the subject, then check out Breathe by James Nestor, The Oxygen Advantage by Patrick McCowan, MCKEOWN, The Wedge by Dr. Scott Carney, that's Carney with a C, Conscious Breathing, Discover the Powers of Your Breath by Anders Olsson, OLSSON, and Boundless, Upgrade Your Brain, Optimize Your Body, and Defy Aging, Chapter 3 by Ben Greenfield. Breathwork can be used in tandem with meditation. It's opening time down on Meditation Street. Meditation is a great way to reduce stress. The thing about meditation is it is different for all of us. There is no one way to meditate. You don't have to sit cross-legged in a cushion, stare at a candle, and turn your mind blank. You don't need to go on a silent retreat, go hide in a dark cave, stare at the wall, completely silence the mind. We all have different ways that we can meditate. Guided meditation works for some. For some, meditation comes in the form of manifesting what you want, thinking about your goals and dreams. Some call this actualization meditation. Some even consider prayer to be a form of meditation. You can easily spend days on YouTube finding various forms of meditation. You just need to find the form that works for you, because meditation at the end of the day is personal. I bookend my day with meditation. As I mentioned earlier, I start my day with Qigong, which is meditation in motion, and I cap my day with closed eye meditation while listening to a YouTube meditation video to shut off my mind and drift off. Mindfulness is another stress-reducing technique. This can easily be added into your routine because you are being mindful when you are in the moment. Whether you are exercising, cooking, doing the dishes, gardening, walking the dog, the list goes on. Just be in the moment. That's mindfulness. Sometimes you just need to get out of your head. Dig into a good book, a podcast. Are you listening to it right now? Are you out of your head and into mine? I'm just kidding. You don't want to go in my head. Trust me. A TV show, a movie, or a video game, as long as it doesn't amp up your stress. Sometimes you just need to get out of your own head and fill it with something thought-provoking, inspiring, or just entertaining.
Are you not entertained?
Just don't overdo it to the point where you become a couch potato. Essential oils are another great tool for your stress-reducing toolbox. We have essential oil diffusers throughout our house here. Lavender, rose, bergamot, chamomile, clary sage, ylang ylang, lemon balm, and frankincense are just a handful of essential oils that are great for dealing with stress. A simple search for essential oils for stress should guide you in the right direction. I recommend checking out Dr. Josh Axe if you want to learn about essential oils and stress. And don't forget to love. Oxytocin, known as the love hormone, can be produced by love and affection. If you have the opportunity, try to start your day off with a hug or some cuddling. Hug someone you love, your significant other, your parents if you're still blessed with them and love them hopefully, your kids, your dog, your cat, your goat, your blow-up doll. Wait, do blow-up dolls have feelings? Do you love your blow-up doll? Well, good for you.
We had only one fight when I told her to keep her mouth shut.
I like to start off my day by cuddling with my girl and my dog every chance I get. Chances are I'm up before them. As soon as they're up, I'm getting that oxytocin, and so are they. Buddha says, the mind is everything. What you think, you become. You know what it's time for, ladies and gentlemen? Mindset. Are you motivated? Are you ambitious? Did you do something today to get you closer to your goals and achieve your dreams? Or did you just procrastinate and scroll down the social media feed instead, looking at other people's lives and opinions? Tell your problems to anyone. Most don't care, a handful of people might care, and the rest are glad you have them. It seems lately that social media has become Dear Diary, with more problems being presented than solutions. At the end of the day, whether you spend a few minutes or a few hours on the socials, does it feel like you accomplished anything? What else could you have done with that time? Probably something productive. I get into better flow states when I don't look at my phone, check email, or go on social media as often and set up proper times for those tasks. See what I did there? I call them tasks, not the time-killing procrastination that they are. You know what they say about procrastination? Procrastination is like masturbation. It seems like a good idea at the time, but in the end, you're just fucking yourself. You need to minimize your windows so you can pay attention to the more important tasks. When you say yes to something, you say no to something else, because if you don't prioritize your life, someone else will. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. Next time you're tempted to say you can't, remember what you're really saying is, I don't want to. Realize that if you have the time to complain about something, then you have the time to do something about it. When I hear somebody say life is hard, I'm always tempted to ask, compared to what? Remember that hard thing you had to do last week, last year, 5 years ago? You were dreading it the whole time, but then you got through it, didn't you? Well, that time passed and you did it, didn't you? And you will continue to do it. No matter how bad things get, just keep going. You only fail when you give up. Limitations are set in the limited mind, and you deserve what you settle for. You have to know that success is not something that you pursue. Success is something that you become. And to become that, you have to set your mind for success. Hence the phrase mindset. I heard a wise man once say, you guys have a lot of potential. You know what potential is? It's a 9-inch dick that can't get hard. Actually, I think that was an anonymous football coach, but a wise saying nonetheless. The difference between what's possible and impossible is what lies within a person's will. You want to become really good friends with willpower, not the Indy car driver willpower. You never know how far you can go until you go. We all take different paths up the mountain. Some of us move up it faster, but you're never going to make it if you don't take any steps. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. Mastering yourself is true power. Lao Tzu. But now, before we finish the show, here is Jim Rohn with the power of thought.
To the pessimist, the glass is always half empty. To the optimist, the glass is half full. Why would the same measure affect people two different ways? Answer: it all depends on how you look at it. Our lives are mostly affected by the way we think things are, not the way they are. The way we think they are affects us most. I used to start the day reading the morning newspaper. I'd get a cup of coffee and read the paper. I'd load up on wars and riots and murders and stabbings and killings and bank robberies and muggings and car wrecks and tragedies. I'd even read the back pages. I seem to like that stuff for some weird reason. I'd load up on all that, and then I'd start the day. You can imagine the kind of days I used to have. What a man reads pours massive ingredients into his mental factory, and the fabric of his life is built from those ingredients. You would not believe what some people have got in their house to read. One of the best dressed up words I know for a lot of it is trash. Can you imagine dumping a barrel of trash into this mental factory every day and coming out with a rich, dynamic, positive life? It can't be done. You might as well try making a cake with cement. The kids back in Danbury, Connecticut, high school, they're asking me questions one day. I'm talking to the kids. Kids got good questions these days. One of them said to me, Mr. Rohn, how do you build the good life? I said, it's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Here's how you build anything. Select the right ingredients, keep out the wrong ingredients, and it starts with thought. Everything starts with thought. So you must be wise and careful what you think about, because that starts everything. Mr. Schoaf gave me one of the greatest phrases when I first met him when he said, Jim, every day stand guard at the door of your mind. And you decide what goes into your mental factory. Don't let anybody just dump anything they want to in your mental factory, because you've got to live with the results.
All right, let's wrap this up, kids. I gave you some tips and tricks, and I hope you find them useful. Try one, try two, try more if you're capable. If you're really crazy, try them all, but be careful about burnout and overwhelming yourself. You want to take on a little bit at a time. The key is that you are trying and moving forward. Write down your goals, write down what you want to change, write down your game plan. You don't need to write down the whole game plan. Just start with some simple to-do lists and some rules you should follow to stay on track. If you can't keep yourself on track, consider hiring a coach like me. I'm a health coach, and I help people dial in their habits to get the things I mentioned done. Not all at once, because the journey is taking one step at a time, and this is not a race. If you're interested in working with me, you can find me at goevolveyourhealth.com. But enough about me, back to you. You've got to lay down some ground rules. Not using your phone at certain times, keeping the same sleep schedule. You can't fall off your diet plan unless it is planned ahead for every once in a while. Get some exercise and find ways to deal with stress. Like I said earlier, the more you have your plans set for the future, the more things that are set it and forget it, the easier it is to live in the now. And you need to know your kryptonite and what makes you stronger. Don't worry about how others judge you for your habits. You have to answer to your body at the end of the day. Life is a roller coaster ride through an obstacle course. Just don't be one of those obstacles. Cary Grant, the magnificent and handsome actor from the golden age of cinema, once said, I pretended to be somebody I wanted to be, and I finally became the person, or he became me, or we met at some point. That was a horrible Cary Grant impersonation. Holy shit, you stuck around to the end? Does that mean that you like me? Do you want more of me? If you're on YouTube, smash that like button and kick that subscribe button. Is that how it goes? If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, leave a rating and review and subscribe if you want to hear more. If you are interested in being coached by me to improve your health, mindset, and change your habits for the better, then check me out at Go Evolve Your Health or shoot me an email at alex@goevolveyourhealth.com. You can also find me on Instagram at @TheAlexLowry for more of my craziness, my wit, my wisdom, my health, my wellness, my philosophy. You'll get every aspect of my personality there. I don't hold back.
Avocado, motherfucker.